Hi, I'm Shayna James. I am a dating and relationship coach for men. And I'm here today to debunk the myth of the friend zone. So if you are a man who tends to get seen as, oh, you're such a great friend, or you're a really nice guy, or, why, if people say to you, why are you still single? This video is for you. And I know the friend zone or, being seen as a friend doesn't actually have to stick, doesn't have to last. From personal experience, and also because I've worked with thousands of women, talked to thousands of women, and what I know is that it can change. So I have a story, and it's pretty personal. The story is about the man I married. And we met at a cafe, a random meeting on a random day. I was sitting in a cafe and he came up to me and we started talking and we really hit it off. And we became really fast friends. I admired him. We had this really deep emotional connection. It was lovely. And I wasn't into him like he was into me, right? I saw him more as a friend. And I didn't want to be romantic. So that went on for about 2 years. And then there was this fateful day where everything changed. And what happened was we were meeting up. We hadn't seen each other in maybe a month or two. We were meeting up at a cafe, a different cafe. And I was standing in line because I had gotten there first. And suddenly I felt something and I turned around and I looked at the door and he was there. And the moment I saw him, I had this feeling go through my body and I started giggling and I then had tears come into my eyes. I mean, it was a very strange experience. And I was impacted by him in a way I never had been. And this was across the room. We hadn't even spoken yet. So we sat down at a table and we were talking and we had what I would call a spiritual experience. If you're not, if you don't see things in that way, it was a deep and profound connection that we had sitting at this table in a cafe in a way that we never had before. And afterwards, when we left, I could barely drive. I had to call a friend and I sat in my car for an hour and I was just kind of dazed and confused and not knowing what happened. And it was after that date, or after that, it wasn't a date, it was after that meeting that I said to him, I want to start dating. Let's explore this. Let's see what's here. So the question is, what happened, right? What happened in that moment or on that day? And what I know about men who are seen as friends is that there's a couple aspects or parts of themselves that are not awake or not active in your interactions, right? The way I see it is that there are 4 parts of us. We've got our mind, we've got our heart, we've got our body, and I also see the soul as the 4th part. I don't often go into that in my coaching unless men are very spiritual, but I also see how that part interacts these days. But the thing that happens with men who are seen as friends is your mind's really awake and your heart can be really awake, your care for other people, but your body is likely not awake, right? It's not, when we're having conversations with people, it's not just the words we're using. That's the deep part of the work I do with men, is that it's not about the lines or the rules or the words you're using. There are all these things happening under the surface. I call them the invisible factors of influence. And many men who I work with after a couple weeks, a couple months, come back to me and say, I feel like I'm not doing anything, and yet women are responding to me in this very different way. They're suddenly interested, they're flirting, I've had men kind of be stalked across the supermarket or a restaurant, right? So what you really have to do when you're stuck and seen as a friend is start to wake up your body. So how do you do that? It's a little tricky to teach this over a quick video. You're not necessarily just gonna, snap and suddenly have your body awaken, but I'll give you a couple tips. So the first one is to realize that waking up your body, it's not athleticism. It's not just about, oh, I play sports, I play tennis, I'm a biker. It's not that kind of being in your body. It's more like a presence. It's an awareness. It's a feeling that actually there's energy moving through your body. many of us walk around in the world going to work and doing what we need to get done, and we're more in our heads. We're interacting with life from a very intellectual place. So as you wake up your body's actually interacting. And I talk about this where conversations you have with women, they're not just happening on this intellectual level, right? They're happening even in the silence. They're happening when you don't say a word, and that has to do with your body. So one of the ways that you can wake up your body is just to simply bring more attention. Practice bringing awareness to your feet and to your legs and your hips and your groin, and just taking even a minute to be aware of the fact that you actually have a body. Another way men often wake up their bodies is to feel and be willing to feel things emotionally that they haven't really felt. And a third way is to actually start learning. This is one of the things I work with men, to start learning to master energy, right? When you're touching a woman, you have your physical body, but there's also an energy body. And when you can actually learn to wake that up, your physical body also becomes more alive. So I hope this is really helpful, and you can go out and start to use this right away. If you do need support or you have questions, I am available. And what I do every month is I open up a couple 15-minute slots in my calendar for men to get their biggest dating challenges answered, for you to get support with it. I do it because I've been there. I've dated after divorce and long-term relationship, and I know how challenging it is. I also do it because I love men, and I am an ally. I consider myself an ally for men, and I don't think you have enough places to get real support and real information and real, that comes from a caring, loving place. It's not just a book, or it's not just therapy, right? Someone who actually cares about you and interacts with you, and especially as a woman. And then the third reason I do it is because, you get to get a feel for me, I get to get a feel for you. If you are looking for more support in your dating life, we can see if it's a fit to do more work together. If not, that's totally fine. And if you get your question answered, you get to move on. But if so, then it turns out to be really great. And either way, I get to be of service, and I get to support men in a way that opens my heart and that I believe in. So I hope this is helpful for you today, and keep an eye out for my next video.